My point is simply, once you announce your plans to retire, people may react in ways that you are not expecting. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. Do you? Just tell yourself, this is not about me. This is about them. I need to give them time and space to process this. It shouldn't be this way, but when faced with a life-ending disease, that's when most people have their come to Jesus moment. Take time now to examine two things, your skills and your hobbies, and ponder what avenues exist to monetize either or both. The numbers can vary greatly depending upon race, socioeconomic status, lifestyle choices, and access to healthcare. But the average life expectancy in the United States for men is 73. For women, it's 79. If a man entered the workforce at, say, 25, had the occasional garden leave between jobs totaling 2 years, and later finally retires at 65, that means he worked for a total of 38 years. And in exchange, gets 8 years of retirement, where hopefully he's still in good enough shape to run around and do the things he enjoys. And my response to this is, are you freaking kidding me? That sucks. And about 6 years ago, when I came to that realization, I was like, no way. I'm doing everything in my power to get the hell out. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, that's not gonna be me. Well, today we're gonna talk about all the reasons why it might precisely be you, in the hope that with awareness, you will be able to avoid all of those traps. So sit back, fill up your coffee cup, grab a beer, and let's get to it. Hey guys, I hope this video finds you healthy and happy. I also hope the sounds of the ocean are not overpowering to the ears. I'm recording at the beach because it's a beautiful afternoon. I'm Ed. I was raised in the United States, but have lived for the previous 19 years in Tokyo, Japan. Last year, I walked into my boss's office, steeled my nerves, and gave my notice. I quit. I retired early, and along with my wife and our 2 rescue dogs, we moved here to Koh Samui, Thailand. During my 19 years in Tokyo, we would travel a lot to different countries in Southeast Asia. And every time we did, we spoke about the idea of exotic retirement. It was never really that serious a conversation. Just 2 adults sitting in some exotic beach, sipping a drink with an umbrella in it. But it never failed to bring a smile to our face. In the end, it took a lot of planning, both financial and otherwise. But most importantly, we had to block out all the noise. Take that grand leap and just go for it, trusting that we would land on our feet and be able to conquer any challenges that were sure to come our way. We've had some bumps along the way, but I'm pleased to share that next month we will celebrate our first year of exotic retirement here in Thailand. But what I really want to talk about is you and why you won't ever get here. Whether here is Bali, the Philippines, Thailand, or some other exotic location. And how maybe, just maybe, you can. More precisely, I want to identify some of the reasons that you're likely not to make it and how to overcome them. Let's start with the easy stuff, the external forces. In the pursuit of your goal, you are going to encounter many external obstacles. There is one in particular that with concerted effort, you should be able to overcome, and that is other people. I'm going to put them into 4 categories that I think will apply to most. Number 1, the distractors. These are the people that will intentionally or unintentionally distract you from your goal. Unless you're independently wealthy, you're going to have to save up a good deal of money to allow you to quit your full-time job. If you have a circle of friends that like to go out a lot or take vacations together, then That means you're going to be spending more and saving less. As a result, your retirement date will be pushed back further and further. Deep friendships are of great value to human health and happiness, but they also require time and money. If you are committed to this goal, then you're going to have to make sacrifices. There's just no way around it. And your time with your friends will likely suffer. Back in 2000, I was living in New York, and I announced to some of my theater friends that after the show we were doing was closed, that I was planning to move to Tokyo sometime soon after. It was about a week later that a woman in the show, whom I had a quiet crush on, asked me out for lunch. She lived in Manhattan, just above Chelsea, and I lived in Brooklyn, Park Slope. She even offered to come to Brooklyn, which, for any of you that live or have lived in the city, you know what a big deal that means and what kind of message it sends. You see, everyone who lives in Manhattan thinks that they live in the center of the universe, and that if there's going to be a gathering of friends or whatever, that 99.9% of them must happen in Manhattan, because why would you want to go anywhere else? And if you live in one of the other boroughs, you just have to suck it up, because after all, you're the one who made the choice not to live in Manhattan. I picked a place that had an outdoor backyard, quiet and chill, surrounded by brownstones. We're having a drink, waiting for the food to arrive, and she reaches across the table and takes hold of my hand. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. And that was the beginning of our relationship. At one point early on, she told me, "When I learned of your plans to move to Tokyo, I knew it was now or never for me to make my move and let you know that I had a crush on you." I was clueless. I had no idea she liked me. Typical Ed. Things progressed, and soon after, my plans to move to Tokyo were on permanent hold. The relationship lasted about a year and then fizzled out. Luckily, I hadn't let go of that dream, and about 18 months later, I rented out my apartment, said goodbye to Brooklyn, and hello to Tokyo. I have zero regrets in regards to pursuing that relationship and putting my plans to move to Tokyo on hold. And although we were out of touch for about 15 years, she and I are still good friends. I think that story is the perfect illustration of how people can sidetrack you from your dream. It was never her intention to distract me. She was just following her heart. And I know she would have understood if I'd said I'm moving to Tokyo. We spoke about it a number of times. I stayed because I thought the relationship was worth a shot. My point is simply, once you announce your plans to retire, people may react in ways that you are not expecting. Group 2, the power brokers. Maybe you like your job, maybe you don't, but unless your boss is looking to get rid of you, the moment they get wind of the fact that you're looking to retire early and move overseas, well, watch how much attention they begin to pay to you. All of a sudden, your boss wants to talk about your goals for the year and how maybe we can find ways to increase your bonus. Or they want to put you in charge of this new project that's coming up. Some bosses might use intimidation and fear just to keep you around. That son of a beep bitch isn't going to do that to me. And then, all of a sudden, you find yourself in some unnecessary battle that's going to do nothing but cost you time and energy. A good manager knows how to discover what makes people tick, how to manage and motivate. So, whether it's playing upon your desire to move up that next rung in the ladder, a management position, or just a threat of demotion, don't expect your boss to be in favor of you leaving. Therefore, be very cautious of who you tell of your plans to retire early and move overseas. If your boss gets wind of it, they will almost assuredly react and quite possibly distract you from your goal. I held my cards very close to my chest and told not a soul at work till after I gave my notice. And I'm glad I did. Group 3, the emotional string players. Because as you all know, once your emotions get involved, it's easy to find oneself in a tailspin of old wounds and raised voices. First and foremost in this group is family. Maybe you're close to your siblings, maybe you're not. But if you have parents that are still alive, those two groups may not take too kindly to the idea of you not being around when help is needed. Family relationships are complex and often filled with old wounds, band-aids, and tall walls. I left home at 18 to join the Navy, so they were used to me not being around. My parents passed away when I was still pretty young. Me leaving for Japan in 2003 wasn't that hard. The emotional string players won't all be family, but they all have one thing in common. They all know how to hurt you with lightning speed. They were the people there to witness or know about pretty much every big mistake you've ever made in your life. Every time you shot for the moon, every time you fell flat on your face. And if they don't like the grand idea of you moving overseas, then they may pull out all the stops to keep you from doing it. Maybe even more so if they're older than you and still working. They don't call envy the green-eyed monster for nothing. Scary. Ow! Most importantly, if the person you hope to convince to join you overseas is your spouse or partner, then I will simply say this. If they aren't 100% behind the idea, then you may soon find yourself moving back home or single. Conversations with the emotional string players are likely to be the most difficult of all. And the best thing I can advise you to do is be empathetic. Give them time to come around to the idea and don't expect to convert them in the first conversation. I mean, think about how long it took you to come to the idea, to accept it completely, and give them that same amount of time. Group 4, the negative nannies. These people may or may not live in the previous 3 groups, but you're sure to run into some. These are the people eager to tell you why you can't, won't, or shouldn't move to that country overseas. They will bend your ear over and over again. They may be excited at first, but soon after, their true feelings will ooze out. Just tell yourself, this is not about me. This is about them. I need to give them time and space to process this. Cheers. I have thus far not wanted to share this story on camera for reasons that I suspect will become quickly obvious. But this seems like the video where this story might do the most good for others. About 3 years from making our grand leap, we started doing a big basement renovation on a house we owned in California and had been renting out since 2015 when we purchased it. The process was to turn a single family, 1 bedroom, 1 bath into a duplex with 3 bedrooms and 3 baths. What was initially quoted to be a 12 to 18 month project took nearly 3 years. And during that time, we had almost 0 rental income on the property, and regular monthly mortgage payments still needed to be made. In the end, it nearly drained our retirement savings. And along the way, we accrued about $30,000 in credit card debt. I kid you not. The deadline for me to give my notice at work was fast approaching. And as our financial picture began to shift drastically in the wrong direction, the writing was on the walls. Tomo, we can no longer afford to retire. The dream we had worked so hard for over the past 4 years was blowing up into a puff of smoke right before our eyes. Weeks passed and we tried to reason that working 1, 2, or even 3 more years wasn't that big a deal, right? But that was just a lie we told ourselves to make the pain more tolerable. Getting oneself emotionally to the place where you can quit, retire, leave your family and friends, move to Southeast Asia, and start a new life is enormous. It's likely to take you a long time to get there. And for me, putting that dream on hold felt the same as letting it go. It was like, if we don't do it now, it's never gonna happen. So one weekend, we're walking the dogs in the park, and I threw the Hail Mary. Let's sell the house in California. Something up until that moment was a no-go for me, because the passive income stream was a big part of my master plan. But now, I didn't care. The house was not the only piece of our long-term retirement plan, and I had faith that we'd figure it out, that we would be okay. Look, Tomo and I are the type of people that can live in a one-bedroom apartment if necessary and be just fine. We were both raised in families that didn't have much. We love that we've been able to upgrade our lifestyle over the years as our income increased and our investments bore fruit. But we're very capable of downsizing our life if we need to, without it costing us our happiness or our dream. I'll say this now, if you're going to accomplish this dream, you're going to have to believe in yourself. It's just as important as how much money you have in the bank. More. Strike all doubt from your mind as much as possible. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I can do this. We can make this happen. You must be the player and coach of your team. So embrace both roles. And on the days when you need it, kick yourself in the ass. On the days when you're doubting, pick yourself up. Move on. Pursue the dream with vigor and let nothing stand in the way, especially you and self-doubt. And remember, just because this is a good time to talk about the future, potentially yours. Has anyone in your family ever had a serious fight with any of the following? Cancer, stroke, heart disease, diabetes, emphysema, or chronic bronchitis? Here are the approximate percentages of U.S. deaths as related to those diseases. It shouldn't be this way, but when faced with a life-ending disease, that's when most people have their come to Jesus moment. Not spending enough time with loved ones. Are you spinning lots of other plates so as to distract you from the ones that are truly important? Working too much. Are you the institutional martyr? Why do you need to please or impress your coworkers that much? Is it all just a distraction from the more important problems or internal challenges? Not pursuing their passions. Remember that band you said you were going to start? Or how about that novel you were going to write? Neglecting physical or mental health. Did you ignore the warning signs? And was that out of denial and fear? Holding on to grudges and unresolved conflicts. Did holding on to that pain reward you or cost you? Not expressing one's true feelings. It's difficult to open up, but if so many people realize that in the end, doesn't that make it a mountain worth climbing? Not traveling or exploring the world. I won't preach to the converted on that point. And all of this brings us back to what Thoreau said. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. Retire. It doesn't mean the end of your ability to make some income. There are a lot of ways to make passive income in retirement, and that should be an important part of your planning if you think it's going to be necessary. Take time now to examine two things, your skills and your hobbies, and ponder what avenues exist to monetize either or both. Let's say you currently manage a large team and have excellent communication skills. Then you might want to look into becoming a professional mediator. Harvard School is just one of the respected universities out there that have programs in negotiation. If you like to draw, then there are plenty of ways to turn that hobby into a moneymaker. If you're a logical thinker, then maybe programming and web design are for you. For me, I have a master's degree in acting, so here I sit, in front of a camera, producing content in the hopes that people out there find it of value or entertaining. I touched upon this earlier, but remember, you're very likely not to reach your financial goal. And in the end, it is going to take a leap of faith. Trust yourself. You can do this. You can land on your feet, still make money on the side if necessary, live a smaller life, and be just fine. When asked what all philosophical commandments could be reduced to, the Greek philosopher Socrates replied, "Know thyself." Or, as Shakespeare put it in Hamlet, "To thine own self be true." There are many reasons why people move to Southeast Asia for exotic retirement. If you are at all unsure as to your reasons, then you really do need to do some self-examination. It's no secret that a lot of single men move to Southeast Asia in search of love or the nearest bar. If that's you, then I suspect you're already following a lot of single YouTubers who are living that life. There are a lot of successful love stories out there, but there are an equal or greater number of divorce settlements and broken hearts. I know I've just touched on a very sensitive topic. If you're going to comment, please be polite and remember that there are a lot of happy mixed couples out there. And if you belong to the swipe right fraternity, consider this. My wife is Japanese. We have been mostly happily married for 17 years, but there are still some invisible bridges that we will never be able to build. She still has no idea of the importance of Star Wars or the difference between the red and blue pill. It took about 10 years before she answered the question, "Hey hun, what do you want for dinner?" with the words, "A tasty burger and fries." If you have never been in a relationship with a person from another culture, then I can tell you from experience, you're in for a huge wake-up call. If you're sitting there thinking, "I have the money, they'll change for me," think again. If you're thinking, "I'm the one coming from the first world country, I'm highly educated and speak English, they will defer to me on all things," think again. The minute you step off the plane, you will be the foreigner, the one that doesn't understand the local culture or quite possibly the language. You will need to adjust to them as much as they do to you, especially if you want this relationship to last. Take a look at this. Southeast Asia offers a hot climate, excellent and exotic food options, abundant and beautiful nature to explore, and unique customs, vastly different from those in the West. There are so many things we love about our life here. If romance is the main reason you're thinking of moving to Southeast Asia, well, you may well end up talking yourself out of it in the end, or not staying very long, or not as happy here as you had hoped. Ask yourself, how badly do you want it? And if your heart doesn't immediately pick up speed, then maybe it's really not the dream for you. Do you like the security that your job provides? Do you need that reason to get out of bed each day and go to work? Otherwise, you might just stay there. Can you leave all your friends and family behind? Does the thought of missing the end-of-year gatherings with family or friends make you sad? When you think about living overseas, do you say to yourself, "I hope I don't get bored"? As I was writing this text earlier, some lyrics from a Talking Heads song popped into my brain. And you may ask yourself, am I right or am I wrong? And you may say to yourself, my God, what have I done? If exotic retirement is your dream, then try to approach the external and the internal hurdles with positivity and vigor. Journeys like this are akin to climbing Mount Everest. So don't expect it to be easy. I sincerely wish you all the luck in the world and even more so happiness. Wait, I spent a ton of time on this video and I really would appreciate if you guys would hit the like button and say something nice in the comments section. It really helps me out. If you're not a subscriber yet, please join us. We're happy to have you. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.